Today we're going to talk about something that's, well, it's a silent crisis, really, unfolding across Japan. It's about millions of men who feel totally left behind, invisible, in a society that once promised them, everything.
Okay, let's just start with a number. 15 million. This comes from the analyst Toyana's work, and it's a staggering figure. That's the estimated number of what are being called vulnerable men in Japan right now. And just to put that into perspective for you, that could be nearly half of the entire adult male population. Half. That's huge.
So this massive number, it points to this group that's often invisible, right? In Japanese, they're called jakusha danshi. But what does that actually mean? Who are these guys we're talking about?
All right, so let's dig in. To really get a handle on this, we've got to understand the term itself. Jakusha danshi. It started out as this kind of niche internet slang, but now it's become a serious way to describe a whole social category. And understanding it is absolutely key.
So jakusha danshi. Look, this isn't just about being broke or being a bit lonely. No, it's describing this crushing combination of things. It's where economic hardship, being totally cut off from people, and this deep, profound loss of self-worth, they all just collide in one person's life.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The source material we're looking at breaks this whole thing down. And you see, it's not just one single problem. It's more like a total collapse across multiple fronts. A collapse of the very pillars that used to hold up a man's life in Japan.
Okay, so take a look at this. It's broken down into 4 areas. First, you've got the economic side. These guys are often stuck in unstable, non-regular jobs. Then there's the relational part. They feel completely shut out from dating, from marriage. And then socially, there's this loss of dignity, this feeling of being, well, unneeded. And all of that comes together to create this psychological mess, right? A feeling that no matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter, mixed with this awful conflict of blaming yourself and being furious at the world.
So you have to ask, right? How did a group this big even happen? Well, the answer really comes down to a broken promise, a shattered social contract that was, for a long time, the bedrock of Japanese society, especially after the war.
For generations, the deal was pretty straightforward. You study hard, you become a loyal salaryman, and society takes care of you. You get the stable job, the family, the secure retirement, the whole shebang. But then, the economic bubble burst back in the 90s. Japan entered its lost decades, and that promise, it just vanished. It was replaced by this new, brutal reality of unstable work, crazy competition, and just deep, deep isolation.
And, to add insult to injury, you have what the analyst Tiana calls the violence of self-responsibility. This is a really powerful idea. It's when huge, systemic economic problems get twisted and blamed on the individual. So if you're struggling, the message you get from society is, well, it must be your fault. You're just not trying hard enough.
And then you pile this on top. It's what's been called the curse of masculinity. There's this intense social pressure on men to just be strong, to not complain, to never ever ask for help. So when things go wrong, admitting you're struggling feels like a massive personal failure. It's a trap.
Okay, so we've looked at the data, the definitions, but let's talk about what this actually feels like for people. The personal stories you can find online, they paint a really harrowing picture of the day-to-day reality of this kind of suffering.
And one of the most chilling things that comes up again and again is this. For a lot of these men, their biggest fear isn't even being poor. It's not about going hungry. It's the absolute terror of becoming socially invisible, of just disappearing from the world.
I mean, listen to this quote from one guy's blog. It captures this perfectly. It's about this feeling of complete and total isolation, this belief that your life is so insignificant that if you died, it would just be an inconvenience for your landlord. Think about that.
And if you dig into the online forums where these guys talk, you see this really powerful conflict playing out. On the surface, yeah, there's a lot of anger. It's directed at society, at women, at anyone who seems to be winning. But right underneath all that rage, there's this desperate, almost painful desire just to connect with someone. In a quote like this one, it just lays it all bare. It shows you the painful truth behind the anger. It's not just frustration. It's a basic human need for affection, for recognition, that's just not being met. And the pain from that is so deep that even a fake connection seems better than nothing at all.
So, with all this despair, you have to wonder, is there any way out of this? Well, there are a few organizations and some new ways of thinking that are starting to pop up and offer some hope.
You've got groups like the Japan Vulnerable Men Center who are really on the front lines. They're stepping into this void and providing services that the traditional systems just overlook. Things like shelters for male victims of domestic violence, or just direct counseling. They recognize that these problems need a really specific, empathetic approach. But here's the massive hurdle they face, and it's so frustrating. The very men they're trying to help are often the hardest to reach. And it all comes back to that social conditioning we talked about earlier, that deeply ingrained belief that a real man doesn't ask for help. He just toughs it out.
So, okay, what can an individual actually do? Well, the analyst Toyana suggests a really fascinating strategy, and it's based on old-school Stoic philosophy. It's basically a mental reset. You divide the world into two buckets, things you can control and things you can't. And then you let go of what you can't control, other people's opinions, social status, luck, all of it. Instead, you focus all your energy on what you can control, your own thoughts, your own actions, maybe a hobby. You find joy in things that don't need anyone else to say good job.
Now, sociologist Shunsuke Sugita has a different take, but it's just as powerful. He says, look, individual strategies are great, but the real solution has to be bigger. It has to be a cultural shift. The real goal, he argues, is for men to learn how to just get off the treadmill of masculinity altogether, to just reject all those crushing pressures to compete and perform.
So when you look at all of this, the personal stories, the potential solutions, it all comes back to one core thing. This isn't really about jobs or money or dating. It's about something way, way more fundamental.
And this is the key takeaway. The struggle for these men, the Yakusha Danshi, it's not about trying to win some rigged game. It's about something much more basic. It's about reclaiming the simple dignity of being recognized as a human being, of just being seen, in a world that makes them feel like they don't matter at all.
You know, this whole thing is much bigger than just one group of men in one country. It's really a symptom of a society going through a painful, messy change. And it leaves us with a really big question to think about, and not just for Japan, but for all of us. What does it mean for the future of any society when a huge chunk of its population feels completely and utterly worthless?